Hello, and welcome to a nice Automation Studio walkthrough. If you remember from last time, we took a slightly more in-depth look at Automation Studio, but now let's dive even deeper. Today, I'm going to be showing you more in-depth versions of all of the things Automation Studio has to offer. So, let's get started. Let's get started by taking one of the steps and decisions we talked about before and putting a step in. That way, I can demonstrate the built-in services and common statements for you. So, if we go into built-in services, let's say we want to get something from Excel. So, let's go if we want to get a cell value. We would put it in here, right? And now you would put in the full path of text, which if you go into your folder and you click on it, once you get there, there's an option to copy path. So let me show you how to do that real quick. You go in here, and let's say we want to go into this document, and we want this specific one. Well, as you can see, there's a copy path button. So you'd click that, you can close this out, and you can put it right in there. But make sure you get rid of the quotation marks or else it won't work. Once that's done, you would put in the sheet name, and let's say that's just called sheet 1, and then what cell you want. So let's say we wanted cell A1, and there you go. Now when you run it, it would go and do that. However, the question is, how do you assign that somewhere? Because right now, you would get this data, but it wouldn't go anywhere. Well, that's where our common statements come in. You bring in assign. And then you do the get Excel. So if you want to search for anything, you can click right here. You can go get cell value. Yep, get cell value in Excel. And you click this and it pops it right in there. Now, this works for anything. If you don't know where something is, you can use the search bar up here. So, if you want to look for Excel, now anything that has Excel will show up. Pretty useful, right? Now, you would do the same thing you just did here. Copy that in, put in the sheet name, and then the cell address. And once you have that, you can choose where you want to assign it, which, right now, we can't assign it anywhere. So, let's create a variable like we mentioned last time. Click the little plus button, and there's a bunch of different types of ones. As you can see, there's list variables, but we don't need a list for one thing in Excel. There's complex variables which go into all these different types. It might seem scary at first, but don't worry because the read more thing right here takes you to the Help Center page in Nice, and it explains each one of these in detail. And then we have the simple variables. They can be text, number, decimal, date, time, and Boolean. Well, in this case, we'll just call this Excel value because we're going to assign it in this text one. So you finish that up, and then you can select from your variables the one you just created. And now when you run it, it'll take whatever's in A1 and put it straight into that variable. You can then use it later on. And if you look in our workflow now, when we go in and look at our steps and we see step 1, we can look inside it and it gives you options to do things when it ends and when it starts. Pretty useful. Next, let's get into callouts. We created one before, so there's one already there. But how do we change things in it? Well, on this left side, there's the basic ones where you can put in like one column, you can put in two columns, you can put in a whole table if you maybe want a 3x3 or a 4x4. Anything like that, you can take it from there and assign it. And don't worry, you can go in and change this at any time over here on the right. As you can see, if you click on layers, you can break it down based on what you want to look at. So if we're looking at table 2, the table body, and you can look at each row individually and each cell. If we come back into the style, we can change the number of rows and columns. So say we decided now we want it to be a 2x2. Well, we can do that, and now it's a 2x2. You can also add images, links, paragraphs, and buttons by just dragging it over and putting it wherever you want. You can also change the size of them like this, or you can make them smaller. And when you click on them, you can change the name of it, and you can change what's inside it. So I can say, hello everyone. And now, inside the button, it repeats exactly what I said. There's also labels and text areas. And that's just a brief look at the things you can do with callouts. You can explore so many more in the future. And now we have event handlers. So remember when I said we could do like a when and a do? So we could go into our workflow now and we can say when the workflow ends, we want to open when workflow one ended. Now we want to pop out our callout. So let's go into our callout. And now if we want to show it, we just put that here. Now the minute this first one finishes and it gets that value, our callout pops up with everything we want in it. Next we have screen elements. Like I said before, you can do a bunch of things with them. In this case, let's say you wanted to assign a value on it into Excel. Or not into Excel, but let's say into a variable. You can do that. All you have to do is use your assign function like before, and now when you go into your screen elements, it gives you options of things you can assign. So let's say you wanted to get the text. You can just assign the text into something, like a different variable. We only have the one, so I'll just do it as example. But you can take things from the web and put them into variables and add those values to use later. That's really useful in terms of creating new and fun automations. And then there's the user-defined functions. Like I said, you can just create your own functions there. You can explore it and choose if you want to do them, but at the start, try and use what Automation Studio has to see if that can get you as far as you want. I hope this helped give you a more in-depth look at nice Automation Studio. Thank you, everyone, and hopefully you learned a little bit more this time.